My first guest, I'm going to bring Tom. We're going to bring this guy out first. This is a very old friend of mine. He's a producer out in LA, out in California. He's an amazing guy, and I love him to death. And he called me and said, "You need to interview this other guest." And when I did the pre-interview, I had such a ball with this guy. But I wanted to have Anthony on too. Let's bring out Anthony Gigante. Anthony Gigante.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure. You know, Joey Cola called me before about 10 minutes ago and told me the podcast was 3 hours later. I don't know why he did that, but that's why I was late. You know.
Joey's
I'm still trying to figure out West Coast time. So
you've only been out there 25 years. And
just about.
And our special guest today has been a sound tech for 40 years. Was in comedy in the 80s, was palled around with a lot of people, you know, Rob. And he's just got an amazing story, and we could talk about it when he gets out here. Give it up for Rico Corrubia. Come on, how about it, Rico?
Rico.
Wait a minute. What is
the sound is working great, by the way.
He fell off stream, Tom said.
He's drowning.
What happened, Rico?
Oh, it's a great show, man.
It's
a great show.
He's a great sound tech, but he doesn't know much about video.
That's for sure. He'll be back.
So, Anthony, I have a question for you. When you whack somebody, do you have to stick around clean up afterwards, or?
No, I don't actually. I kind of do it very discreetly now. I do it from behind, Rob.
Oh, I forget. That's a professional move. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like Anthony's like a super.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, you go.
Mark has got great timing. He really knows how to do a comedy show. He waits
until
you
start. I bury them. I'm in the construction business, so I do both. I offer both services now.
You look like if the mob had a superhero, it would be you.
It's Hitman.
A pinstriped superhero outfit.
That's me. I am a superhero. When I moved out here to Valencia, California, about 15 years ago, I felt like I was in the witness protection program. I grew up in the streets of Brooklyn. So I moved out here to Valencia. I came to my house one day and I said, "Where the fuck am I?" There was noodles and ketchup around me all over the place until I found my spots, of course. But I live in suburbia now. You know, I live in suburbia, and I'm from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, downtown Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. So it's been an adjustment, believe me.
Well, Anthony, talk about your company, PRG. You work
thanks, Richie. I'm very fortunate.
Before you do, let me just explain something. Anthony and I have known each other since I was in college. His cousin, John Gigante, is a friend of mine at Wagner College, and we were theater majors. And about 20 years ago, John made an independent film, Mark, called Cucini, the movie, and it was Burt Young was in it, and it was really a great film. And Anthony was the producer of that movie and got the whole thing off the ground. And the next thing I know, he's out in California and he's running shows and he's setting up studios. He set up the Oz studio at NBC when we were at ABC, right? And things
ABC,
like that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, we actually reached out to Rob Bartlett for that film, but he never got back to us. But that's okay, Rob. You were big at that time, so I understand. I get it totally.
You were big at that time.
I'm kidding. We actually reached out to Pat Cooper, and Pat signed on with us.
More than I used to.
Pat Cooper, Pat Cooper. You got to have Pat Cooper. God, he's amazing.
You know, Rob, what happened was Pat signed up. He was on board. We gave him his deposit. We were ready to go. The day of shooting, he walked off set, and it was hilarious anyway, though. It was hilarious. But he walked off set. So long story short, we ended up getting Burt Young in the film, and Burt was wonderful. And we finished the film, which was a big accomplishment. It didn't go anywhere, but we did finish it, and that was big to our investors. But speaking of my company, PRG, I work for them here in LA and all over the country. And we are an equipment provider that kind of makes people's dreams come true. We can help anyone with anything that they're working on, and I've been very fortunate and blessed to be part of it. And it's been a great run for me. So it's been pretty exciting for me to be part of this, and I'm meet great people like all of you, and that's the most beautiful benefit of it all. Believe me. You know.
Do you do RV customizing?
I do.
Mark may be looking for another sofa.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. We'll talk after. We'll talk offline, and we'll figure it all out for you.
Well, I'm getting word from backstage that Rico is back. So let's bring him out. Rico.
Hello. Wait. First of all, I have to. My wife bought these buttons, and they make sense.
Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer.
That was a boomer move, man. The little fingers that they left me with, I hit some update button, and everything just went black. I'm sorry. Boy, if I did that during a show, forget it. Sinatra show, boom, boom, 2 to the head. Man. And to tell you the truth, that was the story. There was a time when he got me in an elevator, and they said that to me, where after we did a Carnegie show, and the next morning I called a sound check. They were just teasing me, him and Jilly. And they go, boom, boom, 2 to the head. The old man didn't like the sound. I go, really? And we all just got home at 4 a.m. So I called the sound check. Carnegie at that bill, everybody shows up and they go, we were just joking with you. Go to sleep. So that's what that just brought back that kind of memory.
Yeah, it's always funny when Jilly threatens to kill you and he doesn't really.
Oh God! And when he used to watch the improv group, he used to, he puts one hand in the chest and he just taps the table with the other because he's got to have the hand on the piece because he's got to be ready. That was just beautiful to go out with them. I loved it. I loved going out with them.
So Rico, give us a little bit of background. Tell us what's going on. You were in comedy back in the 80s. You got into sound, and talk about what's happened in the past year, couple of years. What happened with your heart surgery and everything?
Okay, so 1996. While I was on the rehab tour, I just finished Tommy with Pete Townsend. So he went to rehab in England. I went to rehab in Philly, and then when we got out, they had the rehab tour, which was working with Donny Osmond on Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoats. And to tell you the truth, it was good. But I mean, all of a sudden, boom, I couldn't breathe. Went to the hospital. They misdiagnosed me. And then somebody good, smart said, I think you got about 3 or 4 days or else that's it. So I ran in the hospital. They saved my life. I love them. So I go back, valves only last, 13 to 15 years. So I went to 2016 and they said, you better get your ass up here. You need a new heart valve. Went up and they said, you'll be in the hospital for a week. There's some other things we got to clean up in there. I go, all right. So I woke up 3 weeks later and I go, hey, honey, how did it go yesterday? And she goes, it was 3 weeks ago. What? I go, what's all this shiny medicine, black medicine on my hands and my feet? I can't move them. She goes, they're dead. What? And I go, yeah, yesterday your heart stopped for 35 minutes. What? Because you had no blood in your body and they don't know where it went. It's like somebody came in the room, stabbed you, and it bled out. And that's still the story. What? And then it just kept going on. The original doctor who I went up there, who was the king of valve surgery, they go, yeah, he died the day after your operation. More fentanyl, please. And that's the way it all went down. It was unbelievable. So I sat in there for 2 months and I didn't feel comfortable. And so I said, take me to a great city to get sick in. So they actually ambulanced me down to University of Pennsylvania where they saved my feet. I love these guys so much. The guy I take out to dinner all the time because he actually made me these alien-looking beanie bag feet because they have no toes, but I have feet. And finger-wise, I had to wear the first. I'm excited. They just finished this. This company came out in 2016. Before this, and I thought I'd never be talking about this, they never had an answer besides, the Young Frankenstein ratchet fingers and ratchet hands. That was it. Right. But now you have a hand like this, and I can turn knobs on the sound console. I can do my work again with that.
So thank God you're able to work.
I'm able to work. Now on the right hand, thank God I'm lefty. There's much more left, so I can do things. On the right hand, insurance says, what do you need a right hand for? Because this is 150 G's, because this they tie into your nervous system, and it completely is, I need a whole hand. But it's too much money, so I'm fighting them like crazy for it. And but something, I'm here, I'm happy. And if I didn't do like I'm on with you guys, if I didn't do that in my life, I wouldn't be this happy. I mean, I really,
Oh, sweet, man.
It's beautiful Rob Bartlett, you and I have seen each other 1,000 times, and I probably did sound for you at the Sands. You know, I was at my group. We were at the Trop at the Kephardt's Comedy Stop. Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Please, just like at the Sands, I used to go out with Rodney after his shows. Oh my God. So,
that was probably a legendary evening.
Oh God. Oh, it was when he got fired because he told the place. He says, "Hey, I can't believe I'm playing this shithole," because they had all this stuff flying in the air. They're going to turn it into an all-night disco. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So he just went nuts and says, "I think they backed up the dumpster and they dumped it all on the freaking stage. Look at this fucking place." So then that night, I see him afterwards. Come on, let's go out. They just fired me. I go, what do you mean? Come on, let's go out. Let's get pot. Let's get some. Let's do everything. You know him. It was a wonderful night that night. Wonderful night.
So you started out you said doing improv in comedy.
So what happened was I was going to go to graduate school in something totally different, and so everybody called up because you know the mystique of Atlantic City. You guys were here in 1980. They said, "Hey man, you can come down here. You first majored in film and TV. Have you ever done sound?" And I said, "No." He goes, "We'll teach you." So I go down and I start learning sound. And the guy we started with this late night lounge act to 5 a.m. It was great. And the kid that he became Sinatra's permanent sound man. He's now with Tony Bennett, of course. Tony's painting and baking, but Tom is still with him if he does anything. But he taught me sound. But we started just playing around. I don't know. We were having fun with the band that was playing that was from Vegas called The Mob. And we got up, we dressed up, and we started doing things. And then you met, because Atlantic City was spooky. You met this kind of crazy crowd that came out from Vegas that got in trouble in Vegas. And this one guy was with Second City. And he says, you know, you're pretty funny, man. He goes, want to start an improv group? Because I used to direct stuff at the Second City in Chicago. Then I went to Vegas. But he was out of Vegas because he owed too many people a lot of money, gambling debts, you know? So we started doing improv. And it was fun to do sound and to do that. And it just grew and grew. And before you knew it, and I got to tell you guys, because I know that Rob was there because the group was there. That all of a sudden I get a call from, I'm going to mention an agent's name, a guy named Ed Mike Cohn, right? Remember that guy? Ed Mike Cohn calls me up and says, hey, listen, some people really like your group, your comedy group. You want to come up? This is when, you know, the Richie had died and the groups weren't going so well on Saturday Night Live. We want to bring your group up to audition. I go, I just dropped the phone going, you got to be kidding me. I go, all right. So we actually took off work, rehearsed for 6 months. He told me to do Atlantic City material. We went up to that club on 2nd Avenue. I don't know if I saw you there, but isn't that where you guys used to do
the comic strip? Yeah.
So there they all are. Lauren Michaels, a whole bit. We're auditioning, and Ed my coach says, do Atlantic City material because it's so spooky and wild and your material. We did it. At the end of it, they go, you guys are great, but you're too localized. Man. So guess what? I was allergic to starvation. I became a sound man full time.
Now, how did you meet Anthony?
Anthony?
Anthony,
you know, it was funny. It's a funny story. I was about a year ago. We were at some place and I was walking up the steps with a lot of packages in my hand. Right. So I saw this guy at the top of the steps. I said, "Hey, buddy, can you give me a hand?" And it was Rico.
You okay? Really?
So needless to say, I had to carry everything up myself and make 2 trips. So now we met through work, and the minute I met Rico, I knew that this is my lifelong friend that I had never met prior. You know what I mean? I got him right away. We hit it off right away. We laugh, we collaborate. He's just a wonderful guy, and his situation has given me so much inspiration. Because if I went through something that he went through, honestly, I don't know how I'd be able to. I don't know if I'd be able to make it. To be honest with you, you know. But the guy always has a smile on his face. He helps others. He's incredible, and he's done so much beautiful work in his life that the world should know about him. You know, that's kind of the way I feel. You know.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, well, that's sweet. Now, who? Give us an idea. You went and did sound. And who were you first doing sound for? You said you were working with Springsteen first, or who did you work with first?
Well, the first thing, you know, I grew up in Asbury Park. Okay, I really did. Bruce grew up in freaking Freehold, all right? Just so you know. But 40 miles away. So the club that opened up called the Sunshine Inn, run by a real freaking New York shyster. because he's like, we're having Jethro Tull. We were 15. He goes, hey, sell tickets for the show, Jethro Tull this week. It's gonna be $3. Sell them like hotcakes. And then guess what? Jethro Tull never showed up. But he had a scam. He go, guess what? Who I got? And they were only charging $200 to $300. He says, I got this band called Steel Mill. That was Bruce's first band. And everybody around that neighborhood goes, we love Bruce. Who cares? We don't want our money back. And everybody go to the show. I go, oh, this is ridiculous. And Bruce and I would just laugh. But I was doing lighting. I was into, if any of you are old enough for the Fillmore East, the Joshua Light Show, the light show behind the band.
Yes.
So I ended up buying equipment from them and doing and creating it. And we did that. And I did that for Bruce. He called me Lucas Lightbulb. And he loved doing all the blobs, all those forms and everything. And I just loved it. And I ended up, that was the first thing I went to college for. And the year I went to college is the year he came out with Greetings from Asbury Park. And I thought, I'm at college. And I go, look at this. He made it. Unbelievable. Because back then, and I'm going to say one beautiful thing about it. They got paid a certain amount of money. Maybe they got paid like $400. Little Stevie and the whole gang. He gave me a sixth of the split. That was beautiful to do all the everything. I love the guy. That was just amazing.
Cool.
So that's the way it started. And then
you moved on to who?
Moved on. Well,
not the Who. You worked with the Who, but who? Like, how did you end up with Sinatra?
Okay, so years go by, me trying to do different things and working in life, and there's something called holography that I thought was going to be my new career. I'm going to open up a new freaking holography store in the end of the corner. I actually studied it at many colleges and became really good at it. You've heard, the Tupac hologram, which is you've heard about that whole thing. Remember that whole happened? That wasn't a hologram. That was freaking Pepper's ghost from Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, they did that with Elvis too, right?
Yes, yeah, and they're still doing it, but it's not the real deal. But I do know people now. All of a sudden, 40 years later, the real deal's coming out. So I ended up just moving on to try to do other things. And somebody, I wanted to go to graduate school down in D.C. I wanted to work working with kids. There was a whole program doing theater and doing comedy with kids at American University. So I needed graduate school money. So everybody said, move to Atlantic City, man. We need you. We need sound men. And I said, I don't know much about sound. So I went there and they taught me. So all of a sudden, there weren't many guys around. So Steve Wynn, we know that name, but he was cool. He treated us great. I'm at his casino, and one day we just got lounge acts in this gorgeous showroom. And he goes, hey, I'm bringing in Frank Sinatra. We got to get ready for that. We're all just sat there, really? He goes, yeah. So we changed the whole showroom. We got everything ready for a Sinatra show. And I started setting that up and doing whatever. And, they brought their own mixer. But one night, I'm sitting there in my tux, and, I'm sitting beside him. I was like his valet, like getting everything fixed for him. And he was he just showed up for the show, and he mixed the show. He was Frank Sinatra's sound engineer. So the shows, Sinatra doesn't go on any later than 8 o'clock. There's no freaking 8:05 or 8:10. So I'm sitting there, and everybody's on headset going, where is such and such? And I go, I don't know where he is. And I knew he liked his bourbon. So let me call around the casino. So I'm calling to try to get him. And they're going, listen, it's 7 to 8. Frank's ready to walk on stage. Get behind the board. I go, wow. What are you, crazy? No, I'm not. Come on. I'm not going to mix for the first time with the 80-piece orchestra and Frank. And Dean was there. Come on. No. Wow. Get behind the freaking board. So I ran out in the hallway. I'm going to all the watering holes in the Golden Nugget. Couldn't find him. So all of a sudden, 8 comes down. I sat there, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Sinatra, and I started mixing. And I'm sitting there. It's like a Mighty Python. Buckets of sweat just coming out over the freaking top. I couldn't believe it. And then he finally walks in. We're holding his drink with the rocks falling all over. And he goes, so Frank could see in this room. I don't know if you ever played the Golden Nugget. It was like Carnegie. It was painted white, so you could see anything going on. Frank goes, oh, excuse me, Bob. Excuse me, we won't be needing you anymore. And it's 40 years later. Here it is. I'm behind the board, and it was going fine.
Oh, my God. Hey, hold on, Rico. I want to hear more, but hold on. Rob, I know you got to go. So one more time, really quick. Thursday night, Governors. We think it's 8 o'clock. Go to govs.com. Great show. You, Jackie Joke Man, Joey Cola, Peter Bales. It's going to be amazing. Please, Richie Minervini. Guys, go to this show. It's just going to be phenomenal.
It's all home week.
For Bob Nelson.
For Bobby Nelson. To Bob with love. So thanks for having me on, guys. Anthony, Rico, it's been great. I mean, you guys are the best. Nice meeting you too.
Bob, real honor. Real honor. Thank you.
And I wish
I'll call you later. Don't pick up.
Please don't call. Just lose my number. Lose my number, Burn. It's about, but see what I did there? You got burned. Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rob. Talk to you later. So you get the job with, he's, by the way, one of the biggest supporters since Mark and I and Tom started this, right, Tom?
Awesome.
Right, Mark? I mean, it's just been amazing.
Just unbelievable.
Incredible to us. And please, guys, even if you're not in Long Island, if you're in Queens, go out to Governors and see the show. It's going to be a great show.
I just donated, Rich. I just donated while people wrapped up.
You can donate. We put up the GoFundMe page. Thank you, Anthony. It's great. So now you do this night, and that's it. It's your gig, and you go on the road with Sinatra. Is that pretty much what happens?
What happens is at that point, I stayed and mixed him every time he came to Atlantic City. They got somebody. They wanted me to stay there. But when he came, I mixed him. The management loved me. The only other act they had it's Liza and Sinatra. Why do you need anybody else at that point? And so what happened was I stayed. And later on in my career, only like 3 or 4 years later, because I went on the road in '84, I finally, every good, great sound engineer, you got to go on the road. You got to live in that freaking smelly tour bus with 12 guys in close quarters and not be able to, the big rule. You can't go number 2 on the bus. You got to wait for the rest stop. But I mean, I lived on tour bus for all of '84. And I told you, with Henry Gross, the guy that wrote that song, Shannon.
Right.
And some other one-hit wonders. But it was just a great tour. And then all of a sudden, I get a phone call from the Sinatra people going, hey, listen, Liza needs somebody to go out with. And whenever Liza and Sinatra play together, you do that. I go, absolutely. So she was wonderful then. Number one, because she was going to meetings and she was clean, and I wasn't. And she was always good to me. She was sweet to me and strong with me and screaming at me to stop my little habit, And that was really nice. That was wonderful of her. And what happened was she actually, I did a little bit of my of course I did my spiel. That's why I kept my gigs, really. And that was okay. So she said, listen, you could be my opening act. And that was just like such an honor. I go, really? I would, and this is like 1987. And but then something happened with the whole Sinatra thing happened with the management. Look, Sinatra was wonderful to us. Called me the kid, never knew my freaking name. Whenever the sound was, called me the kid. The kid's doing this. The kid did this. And very famous event, 1987. He played the New Jersey Brendan Byrne Arena. Then it was called, the metal over there in good old Sea Caucus.
Yep.
And, so we're playing there, and what happened was they rented from some crappy sound company. We set it all up. He comes on stage for rehearsal. It was like some special show, and every Italian. And I had every mom was there from everywhere, from Hoboken, all around, ready to go to this show. And he just sat there at rehearsal, and the system was buzzing and humming, and somebody didn't send the music. He was great, such a musician. Didn't send the charts for the 80-piece orchestra for the 3 songs he wanted to do. And he sat there, and he looks at management, and they're both smoking cigars. I love them, but they're who they are. And he goes, I don't know who to freaking fire first. He goes, but I am not happy.
Wow.
You
know what? That's what I did I said that to Mark and Tom in our meeting the other day.
Oh, that's great.
But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's great. So, but I love this because I'm backstage, and I talk with my hands when I had them all, but I still do. So I'm like talking like this, and I go, he just, I don't think he's gonna play, man, because he just told me personally, he goes, kid, I think I'm out of here. I'm trying to get my private plane back to Palm Springs from Newark. I go, what are you, crazy? And I say, Frank. He goes, so I'm actually do this, and somebody, the bodyguard, holds my hand because it was almost hitting Frank in the face, and he goes, hey kid, tell him I'll call him from Palm Springs. I go, what? So do you know that New Jersey State Troopers, riot police, everybody was banging on the doors. This concert they were going to go to. I don't know if you remember what ended up happening. He didn't play. It was a complete mess. And the state of New Jersey, he wasn't allowed to play in New Jersey for the next 3 years.
Wow. Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah,
I remember this, and it was quite unbelievable. But I thought it was funny because kid, tell him I'll see him in San Diego, because the next gig was in San Diego, and that's where I saw him. That's the first time I'm walking to the stadium. Of course, we flew in the night before and drank very heavily. I'm walking to the stadium, and it was right before the 88. It was 88, and it was right before the 88 Super Bowl, and it was in San Diego. We were playing, and we were starting the Rat Pack tour, the famous Rat Pack tour. Do you remember that Dean quit and then Liza did?
Yeah, Liza did it with Dean and Sammy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm walking up the arena, and like, to tell you the truth, like it's such a hangover. And then this limo comes up and stops. He gets out. It's the first time he puts his arm around me. I'm going, oh my God, I got a hangover. And he goes, hey kid, I know you never fucking really been out of Jersey. He goes, look at that fucking sky. Look at it. It's fucking beautiful, isn't it? Wait, I go, yes, Frank. I didn't know. And he goes, let's have a great gig tonight. I got to tell you this one. So I'm on cloud 9. He finally talked to me and hugged me and that whole bit. So I go in, and the place is crowded. It was a 40,000 seater, right? And I'm by the stage, and I do all the rehearsal. But this is just it. He determined how the dynamics of the sound work. This is where it's different. Everybody said you mix Sinatra, but he did it. If you were a trumpet player and you played too loud or didn't play dynamically right, you were gone. That's who he was hard on. So, but my big job was before the show was to change the regular rehearsal mic to his gold engraved Frank Sinatra mic, right? For the show. So I'm sitting there and everybody's ready to go. And I go, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Sinatra. And I look up and everybody goes, you didn't fricking change the mic. Because I was so excited that day.
Oh, man.
Like, I go, that's where you lose your gig. Not because, he doesn't hear enough high end in his voice. This is Frank. He sings. So I'm just sitting there. He steps up to the mic stand. Unbelievable. He goes, everybody, stop. Stops the orchestra. The crowd is cheering. And he goes, hey, Mike, you changed your hair color. All right, let's go. I couldn't believe it. I go, oh, my God. That's what he said. Hey, Mike, you changed your hair color. Okay, we'll go with it. But that was, don't ever do that again. Don't ever boom, boom,
Wow. That's amazing.
Frank.
Amazing.
Oh, my God. So now we've lost time. Okay, great. Well, and what was Liza like to work with?
Who's this?
Liza.
Liza back then was a dream to work with. We did an incredible European tour, where because what I love is, I studied film, so we're in Rome, and the gig is going really stupid, and I'm backstage. I'm backstage ready to go see her. I just love this story. So her bodyguard comes out. He's a Studio 54 regular with her, and he goes, listen, she's getting dressed. All of a sudden you hear, the maestro, you hear all these cameras going off and everything else, and coming down the hall, and I'm looking, I go, my God, I felt like I was in a Fellini movie, because guess what? It was Federico Fellini. So he's coming to the dressing room to actually talk to her and say, what a great show, blah, blah, blah. There's intermission. So I'm sitting there totally dragged out because it was so hard to load in, because guess what? We didn't realize in Italy that people really do at 12 o'clock take off to 4 o'clock. So the whole local crew was gone. We had to set it up ourselves. It was amazing. And it was fiesta time. That's the way they were. So I'm standing there next to Federico Fellini, and I go, it's such an honor to meet you. I go, I went, and I mentioned I went to NYU Film School. George Stoney, how's he doing? But all the women had all those sunglasses. It was like Roma. It was amazing to stand next to them. So the best thing is Danny, who's her bodyguard, says, hey, Liza, Lukey's out here, wants to ask you about the sound. And then there's a guy named, what's your name? Oh, Fellini's out here. He wants to talk to you. She goes, oh, send Rico right in. And he's standing there like why? And I go in and she goes, I'm so.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, boy. That's just at the end there.
Wait.
She's back. Okay.
So, Fellini was so she goes,
wait a minute. Go back. You said you went in, and what did Liza say?
To me, it was the greatest one-liner from her bodyguard. and I said, hey, look, you got Fellini here. I don't know. And Lukey wants to talk to you about the sound. She goes, send Lucas right in. And because Fellini was taking a step, and I go, oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, maestro. You call him the maestro because I learned that in film school. But I went in and I go, what are you doing? Talk to him. What are you talking to me for? He's outside. Federico Fellini. She goes, he worked with my, because her father was a major, Vincent.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The movies he made. So
yeah.
I'm nervous. I haven't seen him. So I go, it's okay. I think you should talk to him. We'll get through this show. So I left the room. I just think it was so funny because the guy was embarrassed because he started walking in and she goes, no, send Lucas in. I don't need to talk to him first. But I loved him,
How did you end up on Broadway? What was,
man. So what happened was, okay, like I said, the management of Sinatra was a little what it was. Frank was wonderful. So they didn't. There was something going on where they took me off that Rat Pack tour, that actual tour, and because they wanted me to be ready for Liza doing this gigantic tour, and I go, hey, it's 5 months of being out of work, and I didn't like that. So at the time when I was home, I was running up to that comedy club doing improv across the street from Dangerfield.
The one that I can't think of the name of.
I know, man. You're the one that knows it. It was great. Great improv. That guy was amazing. And what happened was that day that I went up during the day, the matinee, I would go, everybody said, you got to go look at Phantom of the Opera and you got to go meet the sound man. It's amazing. And it is the sound it was way ahead of its time, theatrically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would sit there with this guy, Steve Kennedy, blah, blah, blah.
And everything about Phantom was ahead of its time. I mean, technically, what they did on stage, what they did, from what I understand, it was just such a leap forward on the Broadway scene when that came out. Right? In every way, right?
And they're going, but now they're going to start up. They're going back in the theater a month early to get all that. I mean, now it's creaky old stuff, but it's still amazing. They still use the same hydraulics. When 1,000 candles come out of the floor, it's amazing. But they have to make sure it's working because it's 40 years old, right? So anyway, I go home and I'm just I was up for a Cher tour. That was the big Battleship Cher tour, and I did some shows with her. It went great.
But you did that tour with Cher on the Battleship?
I started the whole freaking tour, and the sound company.
I have my notes right here. You never mentioned Cher to me
she was great. She wouldn't. Oh, should I say this? She wouldn't have a face-to-face with me. And she had a loft down lower in Soho. And she goes, I just got a nose job, honey. I'm not going to see you with this. I go, all right. So, but I met her in D.C. We did these one-offs, and she was just amazing to work with. And that tour was amazing. But then all of a sudden, my sound company decides to charge her a ridiculous amount for some rehearsal at her house. And I get a call going, guess what? We're off the Cher tour. Totally depressed. And so I'm sitting at home watching, this is a true story. I'm sitting at home watching this PBS special, and it's music of Andrew Lloyd Webber, the best of K-Tel hits of Andrew Lloyd Webber from Phantom, Cats, all the shows he's written. And I'm watching it, and the guy that mixed Phantom calls me, and they're in Toronto. He goes, hey, listen, because the sound wasn't great, because they're Broadway people. Mics were feeding back. I'm watching this going, this is horrible. They don't know how to mic strings. So he goes, hey, listen, are you available to meet us in the next city? I go, oh, yes, I am. So I met them in Vancouver, and I took over the show, and the rest is history there. I started doing music of Andrew Lloyd Webber. With Andrew Lloyd Webber, with his glass of wine, sitting at the console next to me at all times. Totally trashed. I love the man. The most talented man. Totally. One time, I got to tell you, one theater, I'm sitting there, and his ex-wife was Sarah Brightman singing, and the doors open to this theater, and this guy comes stumbling in, and he's just like, I go, oh, God, this is a sweet person. This is crazy. So I said, where's the security in here? Get this man out of here. So they pick him up, and there's floppy hair over his face, and he opens his hair, and he goes, excuse me, it's Andrew. I'm so sorry I'm late. I just got out of the shower. I was having him kicked out of the theater. So he and I became good friends. And he got it. He sat with me at the sound console all the time. And that was a great tour to do.
You and I had talked, not that this matters, but you did that tour at the time, one of my best friends was in that tour, Ken Ward, who has now passed away, but he was in that. And I remember I was supposed to go see it, and I never did, and I was so bummed about that. But that's so funny that you were working on that tour with him.
Because it was awesome. And those guys, and then when they opened the show with the overture from Jesus Christ Superstar, it was just done so well. And Ken and that whole gang, God bless him, he was wonderful. It was just great.
Yeah.
So in the way things move, so I didn't know whether this was a great concert tour. So we're going on a world tour in 1992 to 8 months overseas, going to every major company, traveling with an 80-piece orchestra. You still did it the old-fashioned way, which was great. So we do a show with him, and Michael Crawford, who was starring it then, he says, "Listen, Michael wants to see you in the dressing room." This is after the show, and I go, "Oh, what's wrong now? Here we go." I get screamed at again. It was just, I was the whipping post. It was all right. He was great. So I go back in the room, and I look, is this a friend of yours? And I go, "This is Pete Townsend." And he goes, "Yeah." He was sitting through the show. He says he's writing a new musical. He's writing Tommy for Broadway. And he goes, "Sir, Rico, I love what you did out there. Everyone told me I should hear your mix. You have to do my show on Broadway." Oh, I lost myself.
Wow.
I go, "What?" I go, "Yes, it would be great. I want you to design and I want you to mix my show, Tommy." I go, "Oh my God." And it was just amazing. And we just, we were still there for another week before we took overseas. I said, "Look, I'll come back in 8 months." Then we're going to be doing workshops and building the show in La Jolla. And I ended up coming home and doing it. And I got a sound designer who really was good. The guy who mixed Phantom that gave me the first gig, he's sitting out of work. He was just having a bad time in his life. And he was sitting backstage of a fiddler on the roof, doing a toggle switch of a sound effect. I go, "Hey, man, you want to design Tommy?" He goes, "Well, get out of here. How the fuck did you get me that?" I go, "I just spent a day with Pete Townsend." He goes, "No, you didn't. Oh, what? Are you doing it? You're starting early, aren't you?" I go, "No, I'm not starting early. I'm telling you, you're going to get a phone call." Pete Townsend calls him up at this theater. He calls me back and goes, "How the fuck did you just do that?" "I'm designing Tommy." Because I was a concert guy. There's so much detail, and there's different equipment they use on Broadway. Broadway is so much detail oriented, and the sound effects and everything else. I'll mix it. I'll mix it for you. But I need somebody who's really good. And the going guys were guys I didn't want to work for. Steve Kennedy I wanted to work for. And now he's designed everything from Lion King to just the Temptations, Jersey Boys. I started his career. All right, I started his career.
It's interesting. You make a good point, especially back then, the late 80s, early 90s. Broadway was changing so much with the whole rock influence and everything that, the sound was definitely not, they didn't understand that kind of sound. You had to have a rock background to understand that kind of sound, but you had to have a performance in a theater background to understand both. I'm sure there aren't a lot of those guys out there who could handle both ends of it like you could.
You said it perfectly, because I'm saying this with all due respect if they see this, but the Velvet Mafia that was in power of sound design had no idea how to do rock, and there was no way. I said, "I'm not going to fail on this." I go, "There's one guy I know will know how to design this properly," because you're absolutely right. That's what transcended sound on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And knock on wood, to this day, I just a lot of us just feel it was the best show we ever did.
Yeah.
And being with Townsend, what a treasure! What a treasure! After the show, I guess you see that we still do it to this day. After the show, he goes, "Come on, Eddie Vedder just finished playing Carnegie. Let's go to the China Club and play all night." So he had me come and do sound, and and Eddie Vedder be there all night, the Pearl Jam. And then one night it was Linda Perry, who writes for everybody from the Four Non-Blondes.
Yes.
But it was like a different.
She produces Pink.
Pardon me?
Linda Perry was Pink's producer on her biggest albums. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, she's tremendous.
Amazing songwriter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Pete and I got really close, man. I just loved talking to him, and we got a lot of close in a lot of different ways. We didn't like cocaine. We loved the way it smelled. Okay, Ron. What are you gonna do?
Can you give us a quick Pete story, or are they too?
A Pete story or a Ron? What do you want? Pete?
Pete story.
Oh man. Let me think of a good one. Pete, I love you. Let me think. Well, the best Pete stories were the fact that they were all thinking what happened. There was a certain time in the show. If you know Tommy, there was a certain time in the show when the dealer would make the delivery to the theater. Oh, like it seems to be completely unaffected. Right during that, so Pete would come out from backstage and act like he's screaming at me, and the stagehand would go and throw it back at the sound console. I'd catch it, put it on the console, but all the stage managers were going, "Look at Pete Townsend is giving Rico notes." He was giving me notes, but he was going, going down the board. And I'm going, I know, I'm so sorry. That sounds like that. And then the stage manager would look for the report. We got to know what notes he was giving you. What didn't he like about the sound? And I said, he didn't like this. He didn't like that. He didn't like whatever. And then he'd make me go at intermission, go out, because then he'd start the beer drinking. And then after the show, he and I go out all night to 7 in the morning. So my first marriage didn't last too long, right? It just didn't last too long. I have a beautiful kid from it, but it just was bad.
Who's did?
Wow. That is fascinating. These stories are amazing, man. What a incredible life you've led.
Oh, it's been fun. It's been wonderful. But if I didn't start the improv group or whatever, it just taught me to look at things like, something. I don't sweat the small shit. The fact that I made it through this, you don't sweat the small shit.
Now, do you have anything? Speaking of that, do you have anything you're doing now? Are there any projects you're working on, or are you just still in the middle of getting back on your, part of the pun, on your hands?
No, yeah. Oh, and I know, and I told this to Joey Novak, a friend of yours. I made Anita laugh. I go, "Hey, Anita, I'm going to start the comedy group again. I got a new hook." Every comedian's got a new hook. Joey didn't get that. I'm telling you, I was very upset. I told Anita, but anyway.
But are you working on anything?
What's that?
Are you working on anything now?
Yes. Well, there's going to be this. It's based on Roy Cooder when he did Buena Vista Social Club, Cuban music.
Sure.
It's a Cuban musical, and they're going to start it again in Miami. They're rebuilding this old dinner club that everybody from Desi Arnaz used to play or whatever. They're doing it right now. We're going to start beginning of next year. Havana Music Hall. So I'm going to be involved in that project. And there's another project that I'm loving. A guy who I met when I was designing a show, and then I hung around the original filming of Moulin Rouge, by Baz Luhrmann. It's now on Broadway. And there's this kid that did the animation on it. He was 22 at the time. It was amazing. He's now a great designer who designed the movie Greatest Showman. Did you see that with Hugh Jackman?
I didn't see it, but yeah, Hugh Jackman.
This kid is
talking about that movie last night.
So now he's doing this show, and I'm actually doing the research for him because being on Broadway, Luis Pavarotti played a lot at the Met, of course, and he's the blue collar opera singer. So they're doing this. He with Pavarotti's widow are writing this wonderful script about the letters he got, the people around the world that love this man, and it's going to be this wild, immersive, crazy show that's done in London, and I'm going to fly over there in the next couple of weeks to actually talk about the creative things we can do with the sound, because this is going to be cutting edge technology, and they really want a real hologram of Pavarotti coming back.
Wow.
But, we're working on all that. So we're really honored to be working on that project.
Dude, that's so cool. We'd love to have you back on the show in the future.
What's that?
We'd love to have you come back.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anthony, really quick, what you got anything you want to talk about? Because we have another show coming on. It's a brand new show, guys. Thank you for coming out, because you know me, I suck at this part. Frank Sinatra has a new sports show coming on, right? And I'm a part of it. I'm going to be on. I'm going to be the guest, one of the guests, and we're going to switch over soon. But I wanted to talk. Tom, can you talk?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm 100% here. I'm just having camera issues.
You just have to hit refresh, right? And people can stay on and watch.
Yeah, exactly. So all they have to do is hit refresh, and they will be able to tune in to the new Comedians Taking on Sports on our station, which is going to be a lot of fun. They're looking forward to have you over there because of your general betting knowledge.
I've been known to put a wager on a sporting event or two. 48. But Anthony, tell me really quick what's going on with you. Do you have anything you want to push right now that you? I feel like Here's the deal, guys. Whenever someone calls me and says, "Hey, you have to have so and so on," I make a point of going, "Okay, you have to come on with them," because I feel like if Mark or I don't know the person, I like to have somebody on another who can go, "Hey," who could steer them. Turned out there was Rico never shut up for a second, so it was great.
That's beautiful. That was the whole point today. I wanted the world to see Rico. Rico is he is what he is. He's great. There's a whole other history of Rico too, which we'll get on the next time. Little Rico, whose dad sold Cadillacs to the mob in South Philly. So
really?
That's a whole other story we can get on and get involved in as well. So
I thought you wanted to hear those stories.
Oh, that's a whole other hour.
I got clearance. I got total clearance. Okay, from who's left.
Well, we can talk about that because that might be. I might even have a couple of guests to bring on with you that you might like. We can talk about that. I'd have to clear it with them first, but I think enough people have passed away where they won't mind. But we'll see. We'll see how that works, Anthony.
Everything is really great to be on with you guys, Rich. I'm very proud of you. I follow your career. I know we haven't been in touch a lot the last couple of years, but I always watch.
I know, we have to change that, right? I actually was on the phone with Vinny D'Elia earlier.
Yeah.
And Ricky Bertoldo called me the other day. So it's so funny because I hadn't talked to Ricky in about a year. So it was really funny that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, we're all meant to get back together, man.
Absolutely. Lifelong friends. I'll be back in New York on August 5th for about a week. So let's see if we can meet live there and
absolutely
get together a little bit, which I really would love. I'd love to meet Tom in person as well. And
really
proud of what you guys are doing and really support you 1,000%. Really do.
And we definitely want to have you back. And Rico, we definitely want to have you back.
Oh, this is
so we can talk about that in the future. But thank you guys so much for being here today.
Thank you, Richie.
Guys, go to the GoFundMe page. Help out Bob Nelson. He's a rare talent and a wonderful man. But try and go to the show at Governor's on Thursday night here in Long Island. Rob Bartlett, Joey Cola, so many. Rico, thank you so much. Anthony, thank you so much. You guys.
Rico, thank you guys.
Thank you. Did everything. You guys have been watching Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. Hit refresh and watch the show with me and Frank.
Will do. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right.